President Cyril Ramaphosa had earlier announced that prisoners will be released on remission as part of celebrating Reconciliation Day.
In commemorating the 25 years of democracy and in line with established international practice, I have decided, in terms of the Constitution, to grant a special remission of sentence to specific categories of sentenced offenders, probationers, and parolees. Remissions of sentences are always carefully considered, taking into account the interests of the public and the administration of justice. We recognize that interracial incarceration has followed a judicial process and that sentences have been duly imposed on those who were found guilty of certain crimes after conviction.
All right, so we continue to get reaction on that announcement, and in relation to the AbaThembu King Dalindyebo, we cross now live to our SABC News reporter Atule Joka, who is in the Eastern Cape province. Atule, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. What has the reaction been from King Dalindyebo's side?
Well, good afternoon to you, Palisa, in studio, and good afternoon to Peter as well, and SABC News viewers across the depths of this country. Well, today we are at Bumbane, a great place. If you see behind me, if you see people dressed in traditional regalia, and you see this tent, this hive of activities, the acting king of AbaThembu King Dalindyebo is graduating today. So it beats its festivities. We couldn't get him to get a comment on him. But we do know that this month, at the end of this month, on the 31st, the King Dalindyebo will be marking 4 years since he was incarcerated. He was sentenced to 12 years prison term for defeating the ends of justice, for arson, and also for kidnapping. But since the President Cyril Ramaphosa has made that announcement that the King does qualify for remittance, and also that he will be released and so forth. So we are here to get a reaction from the kingdom to sort of hear their view on this matter. With me, I am joined by Chief Dumisani Mgulwa. Chief, if you can, Chief Zwelengaba Mgulwa, if you can give us your reaction on the announcement that was made by the President that the King does qualify for remittance, does qualify to be released by the President. How does that make you feel as the kingdom?
It makes us feel very happy. Also, we are waiting him to come back home.
And also, what sort of a role are you expecting the King to come back and play when he comes back?
There is a Royal Council. The Royal Council is going to sit with the King and discuss the matter pertaining with that.
And also, there have been talks that the King might be given a presidential parole instead of a presidential pardon, which is quite different. How would that make you feel as the kingdom? Does it matter to you?
As long he is out of jail, he is welcomed. Also, we are happy.
Okay. And also, but a parole would mean that he comes back with conditions that he cannot go to certain places he has to sign. How does that make it?
That one is going to be determined by the Royal Council. At the moment, we cannot discuss about that. Until such time, we sit down with the Royal Council, as a Royal Council, then with the King who is coming.
Okay. And also the matter of victims, I'm sure it's a matter that we have long passed by. But as the family, have you been in contact, or do you sort of have any word with regards to the family?
We met with them. Then the issue is still subject to care.
So at this moment you can't speak on that issue, I can understand. And also I see the acting king is also graduating here today. How does he feel about this whole debacle around his father?
He is so happy. Also, he also welcome his father when he comes back. That's what he's going to do. He's an acting, the father is coming. Therefore, according to our custom and tradition, he knows what he is going to play a role.
And also, according to what we have gathered, and also in your engagements with the president, how long will it take maybe for the king to come home?
We are still waiting for the date that our King Zulibanzi, is going to be released. As a family, also as a royal council, and also as a nation at large, we are waiting for the day that the Department of Correctional Services, they are going to give us a date.
Okay. And also, have you also been able to sort of sort out the issues from external factors, from people who are trying to make a name with the name of the king, and also trying to sort of solicit funds in the name of the king, saying they want the king to come back? Do you have any sort of the word?
At the moment, it's a new information. The one which you are saying to us, to me now.
No, I'm talking about the people who were busy lobbying for the king to come back, and were also saying that the king does not want his father to come back.
No, as I'm saying, it's new to us as a kingdom.
Okay, but we were here some time back, and we did try to speak to the family. They also commented on this issue.
At the moment, I really don't know.
Okay. So, but otherwise, you are happy as the family that the king will be?
Yes, we're happy. We're waiting for him. He's going to come back home.
And also, when was the last time you had sort of engagements, direct engagements with the king while he's still inside?
We don't have engagements with him. We'll have those ones when he comes back.
Okay. Well, Tata, thank you very much. Anything you'd like to add before I let you go?
Musasazi, I think this announcement, which is going to be announced by the President or the Minister of Justice, that will be the goal of our government, to release our king, of which we are happy. As I was saying, welcome home, King Zulibanzi, welcome home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was Chief Dumisani Mgulwa of the AbaThembu Royal Kingdom, saying, of course, they are happy to welcome the king back, to try and come back to reunite the family. We do know that the case dragged on for about 20 years, and the victims were not happy with that. They've also written submissions to former presidents such as Jacob Zuma at the time to try and get the king to face some of his deeds at the time. And also we have tried to spoke to some of the victims, and one of the victims I spoke to did say that they do not have a problem with the king coming back, but the fact that they have lost some of their things, some of their belongings in that arson. They did speak to their lawyers to say that they might need to get some sort of a compensation because of the loss of the damage that they suffered in those deeds. And they were saying, of course, if the king comes back, must make sure that he accounts to that. So they will not be happy if he comes back without that issue being addressed first. But this is where the things stand at the moment. From myself, Atule Joka, with the help of my colleague Londi Lembulali behind the camera, it is back to you in studio.
All right. So Atule, just before we let you go, we've heard what the family has to say regarding this issue. Have you been able to speak to the people in that area, just the ordinary people?
Well, at this moment, we got here, it was celebrations. People were very happy. They were celebrating with the acting king who is graduating here today. So what they told us was that they want the king to come back, but they could not elaborate on that because it's a hive of activity. They are in high spirits. They are very happy at this moment. They are here to celebrate this moment with the acting king. So they couldn't delve much on that matter. But the people who did speak to earlier on was the victims of those crimes, particularly the one whose house was arsoned, saying, of course, the king needs to sort of compensate them, even if it's government, because government does have the means to compensate them so that they can be happy with this. They were saying, of course, they do not want to be bought, but they want sort of an admission from the king that I did this and I apologize. And also, this is where we find middle ground going forward.
All right. So we've also had the family spokesperson. He didn't really want to say much, basically saying that the engagements would continue once King Dalindyebo is home. But What sense are you getting from the area? What is likely to happen once he's been released? Is he likely to continue with his kingship?
We did speak to the acting king, King Azenat, who is the son to the king. He was saying even if the king will come back, even if he's released on parole, for them traditionally he is a king. So for them the legalities do not matter that much. So when he comes back, he will become the king. But of course, according to the law, it's quite also difficult to sort of maneuver your head around it, if it is possible, if it is acceptable for a king which has these legal things that are hanging over his head to lead a nation. So it will be quite interesting to see what will happen. But the people here on the ground are ready for him. They were saying, of course, the legalities that are surrounding that do not matter much to them. But the king will come back and lead the nation, because you would remember that when the king went to incarceration, there was sort of a legal battle between the brother of the king and the son of the king, as according to who will succeed him. So what happened then was that the former Premier Moswale announced that it will be the son of the king, King Azenat Dalindyebo, who will become the king. So there's those dynamics that are playing out here. So we will wait and see what will happen when the king comes back.
All right, so we'll certainly wait and see what happens, as you say, Atule. Our reporter there, Atule Joka, live from the Eastern Cape province, getting that reaction on the emission of sentences announced by the Justice Minister to the AmaXhosa King, Atule Joka Dalindyebo. As you said, this is, of course, a developing story.